أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تحلوا شعائر الله ولا الشهر الحرام ولا الهدي ولا القلائد ولا آمين البيت الحرام يبتغون فضلا من ربهم ورضوانا وإذا حللتم فاصطادوا ولا يجرمنكم شنآن قوم أن صدوكم عن المسجد الحرام أن تعتدوا وتعاونوا على البر والتقوى ولا تعاونوا على الإثم والعدوان واتقوا الله إن الله شديد العقاب صدق الله العظيم. This is the second verse of Surah Al-Ma'idah. Last week we started Surah Al-Ma'idah. The first verse started with Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu awfu bil uqud. O believers, fulfill your covenants. Last week we spoke about two types of covenants. One is an aqd, a promise with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Others are the covenants that people make amongst themselves in contracts. So amongst the covenants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in ahdu alast, everyone accepted the rububiyyah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in alim arwah, in the realm of the souls. And then when we came into this realm, into this world, some accepted, some believed and others did not. So this addresses towards meaning the believers, that your aqd and your promise and your contract with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that when you say that I believe in Allah ta'ala, that comes with certain demands. So amongst these demands, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, O ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu la tuhillu sha'air Allah. O believers, do not violate the prescribed rituals or the salient features or the hallmarks of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Mufassirun mention a sabab al-nuzul, or few reasons of revelation of this ayah. One is that in the 6th year of Hijrah, we all know the famous incident of Hudaybiyah, or Sulhul Hudaybiyah, that when the Sahaba radiallahu anhum with Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam, they made way towards Mecca to perform Umrah. So before they could enter Mecca, the mushrikun sent people and they said that, look, you cannot enter into Mecca. Obviously Mecca at that time was under the control of the kuffar. They said you cannot enter into Mecca. The Sahaba said, we're only here for Umrah, we're not here for any political reasons. We believe in the sanctity of this house just as you do, and just as you have the right to perform the pilgrimage here and do tawaf and other rights, we also have this right. Hence, we're just here for this reason only. And everyone used to come. There was nothing new about this. So they said that we're here for this purpose and we will be leaving. They said that no, whatever it is, you cannot come this year and you will not be able to enter. Rather, we will make a certain pact and contract that will take into effect, and you can only come back next year. There are many conditions that are put there in Tafsir of Surah Al-Fath, inshallah. Whenever we get there, we will discuss that. But regardless, at the 6th year of Hijrah, the Sahaba were not allowed to enter. And one of the conditions which were made, at this point this is called the Sulh al-Hudaybiyah, that there will be no fighting, there will be peace. Some conditions were clearly against the believers, the Muslims. For example, that if anyone was to run away from Mecca to Medina, then they must be returned. But if vice versa, and if someone wants to run away from Medina, they don't have to return them, for example. And then the next year when they allowed them to come, they said, we'll give you visa for 3 days. Only for 3 days you can come, perform your rights, and you have to leave. So Sahaba radiallahu anhum, listening to Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam accepted these the treaty and whatever conditions that were put, and the Sahaba radiallahu anhum returned. This was one incident. Obviously we can imagine how burdensome this was upon the Sahaba radiallahu anhum and how difficult it was upon their hearts. Why this is important is because when Fathu Mecca now is going to come, the conquest of Mecca, there will be their blood will now be boiling for revenge. Right? So then the next year, in the 7th year of Hijrah, now what happened before this? That whilst the Sahaba were in Medina, one man came from Mecca portraying himself as a believer. He was a hypocrite, and he came to do some trade, etc. When he left, and Rasulullah was informed by wahi that this person is a munafiq, he's a hypocrite. As he left Medina, he stole the sheep, he stole some cattle, he stole some grazing animals of the Sahaba anhum, and he left Mecca in this manner. When the Sahaba came to find out about this, they ran after him. However, it was too late, and he escaped. Now, in the next year, when the Sahaba anhum are coming for this Umratul Qada, they hear one man saying Labbaik. When they hear this man saying Labbaik, they see that it's the same person who stole. But now he's coming in the condition of Ihram. The third incident Mufassirun mentioned over here is that at the time of Fathu Makkah, when the Sahaba anhum had conquered and they had now the keys to the Kaaba, and the Sahaba and believers, they have the upper hand. At this point, there were still mushrikun who would come, and they would come to observe the rites at the Kaaba, the Haram, the Baytullah. So this troubled the Sahaba anhum, that you're coming to do all your kufri and shirki acts, and you have your aqidah as we would say, all messed up, and despite that you're coming. When we came, you did not allow us to come. Right? When we wanted to come, you didn't allow us to come. So at this point, some Sahaba anhum, their blood was boiling, and it was very obvious, and it was natural that it was such. So they wanted to take intiqam and revenge. They wanted to take revenge for everything that had happened, for Sulh Hudaybiyah, the forceful conditions that were put upon them, unfair conditions, then this incident that this man had stolen, and thirdly, all the kufri and shirki acts that they wanted to come and do with their kufr, and they want to come, although they believed in the Kaaba, but it was with all the bid'at, etc. that they had brought with it. So they wanted to stop them, and they wanted to do away with these kuffar. So upon this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed these ayat. The O believers, لا تحلوا شعائر الله. O believers, do not violate the hallmarks of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Shi'ar is something which is salient to a deen or to a religion, to a people. Meaning when you see this, you understand that this is part of this religion. For example, anywhere a person goes, if you hear the adhan, what does that mean? That these people are Muslims. You see a masjid, that means there's Islam here. You see people giving adhan, giving iqamah. You see a mushaf, a Quran Kareem. What does this mean? These people are believers. These are all the sha'air of our deen, the hallmarks, the salient features of our deen. So part of the sha'air are those animals which would be sent towards the Kaaba, the Baytullah. When they would send the Kaaba as a sacrifice, they would send the animals as a sacrifice to that. And then these being the months of Ashhurul Haram, right? The sanctified months. So to sanctify these months, it would be their responsibility. So لا تحلوا شعائر الله ولا الشهر الحرام. That do not violate the sanctity of this month. The sanctity of this month demands that you do not waylay these people, that you do not steal their things. Although you may be very troubled and your blood is boiling against them, despite that, you must keep the sanctity of these months and this time. وَلَا الْهَدْيَ, those animals which are sent as hadi, as sacrifice. وَلَا الْقَلَائِدِ, qala'id refers to those animals that they would put something on them to mark that these are the animals which are going to the haram. وَلَا آمِّينَ الْبَيْتَ الْحَرَامَ يَبْتَغُونَ فَضْلًا مِّن رَبِّهِمْ وَرِضْوَانًا. Nor those people who intend going to the Bayt al-Haram. And although they may have kufr in their hearts, they're mushrik, but they are going towards the haram, يَبْتَغُونَ فَضْلًا مِّن رَبِّهِمْ وَرِضْوَانًا, desiring grace and virtue from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His happiness. Our aqidah is they're not going to come back with that. But the fact is that because they're going with this intention, so because of that, you should not violate the sanctity of this. وَإِذَا حَلَلْتُمْ فَاصْطَادُوا. When you become halal and you come out of the state of ihram, then you can hunt. وَلَا يَجْرِمَنَّكُمْ شَنَآنُ قَوْمٍ أَنْ صَدُّوكُمْ عَنِ الْمَسْجِدِ الْحَرَامِ أَنْ تَعْتَدُوا. This is a key point that we should take home. That a certain people, their aggression, that should not force you أن صدوكم عن المسجد الحرام, that they stopped you from the Masjid al-Haram, and ta'atadu, that you transgressed the bounds. Yani, even if they did dhulm, لا يجرمنكم شنآن قوم, the oppression, the aggression of a certain people, that should not force you to do wrong as well. Yani, this idea that if someone does wrong, then you do another wrong. There's two things here. One is the the Sharia of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam, gives people rights. And if a person's right is violated, then they have haqqul qisas, any retribution. That's in its place. The other is that merely reciprocating harm for harm. Just because someone harmed you, or just because someone oppressed you, so now the way you will do it and you will return it is that you also do another wrong. For example, if someone took someone else's phone and they broke it. So now what is the command in Sharia? That this person would have to replace that phone, right? You can't say that because he broke my phone, so I'm going to take his phone and break it as well. Because there's no point to that. That's just harm for harm. That's oppression for oppression. There's no point to that. The right way is that if someone broke something, yes, we won't say that, okay, if you want, you forgive him, that's one thing. But what Sharia gives is the haqq, that you can receive from him money for it, or he has to replace that item, right? So that is, there's some objective behind it. It isn't mere harm for harm. So this is what the ayah is saying. لا يجرمنكم شنآن قوم. Someone broke my windows, I'm going to go break their window. Right? That's not how it works. That is called jahiliyyah. That's called ignorance. Because now he has a broken window and you have a broken window. There's no point to that. And now you won't be able to get anything out of it. So وَلَا يَجْرِمَنَّكُمْ شَنَآنُ قَوْمٍ. So if they were unfair to you in Sulh al-Hudaybiyah, they did not allow you to perform the Umrah, or they stole your items, etc. And it's the Ashhur al-Hurum. So now, in order to take care of that, you won't violate another command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? So ولا يجرمنكم شنآن قوم أن صدوكم عن المسجد الحرام أن تعتدوا وتعاونوا على البر والتقوى, that you should assist one another upon bir, goodness, and upon the consciousness and fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. ولا تعاونوا على الإثم والعدوان, and do not assist one another upon sin and transgression. واتقوا الله إن الله شديد العقاب, and have the taqwa and consciousness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Indeed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is severe in punishing. This last part of the ayah, تعاون على البر والتقوى, inshallah, we'll do the tafsir of this next week, inshallah. وآخر دعوة الحمد لله رب العالمين.
I think somebody forgot their phone. It was in the wuzu area.